Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to tell you what happened. Um, on the previous feed, I got everything set up, ready to go, and everything seemed to be working. Now, I use a program called Loopback to move all my audio around, and the particular Loopback device that I had Safari as part of it for whatever reason. And apparently the audio got turned on in Safari, so it was looping back through Loopback, and I couldn't hear it because I have all those audio sources muted, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse, and that's why it suddenly freaked out. Well, I have removed Safari from the Loopback device, and hopefully this won't be a problem again. I'm not going to go over all the stuff that I talked about in the last one. I went to Florida. I had a great time with my sons and his friend. We went to St. Augustine and Daytona and Cocoa Beach, and then Orlando for Universal Studios. Everything was fine. And I'm back, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I may put some of what I was talking about earlier. Because I still have I still have the video recorded, and of course I can grab it through Facebook, but I probably won't have to do that. Let's just go ahead and get started right with what I was going to talk about tonight. Let's see if there's anybody here with me before I start. It may not be. Well, I'm sorry. Sometimes it just doesn't work the way I want it to. Anyway, so what this show was going to be about tonight was what Apple was like 20 years ago. I happened to catch an article that was talking about the iPhone and how that's changed Apple. And I got kind of curious. So I did a Google search on Apple from June 1997. And this article came up from Wired magazine, and it was talking about what Apple could do. Now, remember, this is from 1997. What Apple could do to prevent the slide that they were in at the time. Now, to take you back to those days a little bit, the previous year, Gil Amelio, who was then the CEO of Apple, bought Next from Steve Jobs, so that gave him access to the Next OS. He also brought in Steve Jobs theoretically as a consultant to try to help things out. But Steve Jobs doesn't do the consulting thing all that well. And he ended up, within a few months after this article came out, Gil Amelio was gone, and Steve Jobs was the new CEO of Apple Computer. And from there, they created the iMac, released OS X, the iPod, iTunes, all of the things that we know that has made Apple the success story that it is today. But in 1997, it was not a for sure thing. There was definitely real concern that Apple may not be around within a couple of quarters with how much money they were burning. Anyway, so Wired put out this article, and they were talking about what could Apple do to turn things around, and some of them are quite good. Some of them are really dumb. Some of them I think were meant as jokes that sometimes worked, sometimes didn't. But we're going to go through these real quick. Number one, admit it, you're out of the hardware game. Outsource your hardware production or scrap it entirely to compete more directly with Microsoft without the liability of manufacturing boxes. Now, once Tim Cook came on board, they kind of did this. They still design their own hardware, but they don't build it anymore. Apple at the time had their own factories, but yeah, they really don't bother with building stuff on their own anymore. Number two, license the Apple name technology to appliance manufacturers and build GUIs for every possible device from washing machines to telephones to web TV. Have them all use the same communications protocol. Result, you monopolize the market for smart devices and homes. Well, they didn't license the Apple name. They built their own. They came out with their own phone. They came out with their own tablet. They have currently plans for various smart devices. So, they kind of did it, kind of didn't. Start pampering independent software vendors. Your future depends on strong, user-friendly software. ISVs are losing confidence and crossing over to the dark side to take advantage of Wintel's market share. Remember what happened to OS 2? Not enough applications, updates too late, scarce industry support. That's kind of a skewered thing on what actually happened with OS 2, but that's not the subject of today's Mac to the Future. Some developers did go over to Windows, and I think it was OS 10 and the resurgence of Apple as far as their devices go. When the iMac came out, that was kind of a game changer for the Mac OS or for the Macintosh platform, and I think that brought in more developers than what they were losing. Let's see. Next one is Gil Amelio should steal a page from Lee Iacocca's book. Worked for 1 year without a salary. Didn't matter. He was fired within a year. Straighten out the naming convention. Link model numbers to processor speed. Stupid idea. They've kind of gone in the exact opposite direction. You have a 27-inch iMac. You have a 21.5-inch iMac. You have a 13-inch MacBook. You have a 13-inch MacBook Pro. You have a 15-inch MacBook Pro. They don't change their naming conventions based on when the hardware was released or what the various specifications for that hardware is. And why should they? It's worked out pretty well. Apologize. You let down many of your devoted users, and, they have on certain occasions. Don't disappear from retail chains. And they didn't. They started selling in various retail stores in that time frame, including Sears, Circuit City, a couple of the other ones that are, some of these are now gone. Then they open up their store within a store at Best Buy and a few other places. And now they got people knocking on the doors wanting Apple products. They have their own chain of stores. And I think they're doing really well. Hey, Dave, sorry about what happened before. I'll give you a quick update. Service merchandise, that was another one. Basically, what happened was I had Safari, which I'm kind of monitoring what's going on over with the feed there in Facebook. Somehow the audio on that got turned on, and that was being fed back into the virtual audio device that I use to pump through OBS, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse, and basically became unlistenable. So I had to restart it. Sorry about that. He's got here, buy a song. Last year it would have been Respect. This year maybe it's Ain't Too Proud to Beg. Dumb idea. Fire the people who forecast product demand, and I think they pretty much did. In 1996, you had $1 million in back orders for the PowerBook 1400 while warehouses were full of unsold Performas. Well, one of the first things that Steve Jobs did was he eliminated all of the different naming conventions for the Macintosh computer. So Performa, Quadra, and what was the last one? Performa, Quadra, and Centris. Those were the three models. They were all gone, and it was just one naming convention. Get a great ad campaign. Yes, that's kind of what they did. Instead of trying to protect your multicolored ass all the time, try looking forward. You've gotten stale by adopting the worst aspects of your competitors' business practices. I don't agree with that at all. Build a fire under your ad agency. Yes, they did. Hey, Warren's back too. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. I'm really sorry about that. Exploit every Wintel user's secret fear that someday they're going to be thrown into a black screen with a blinking C prompt. Advertise the fact that Mac users never have to rewrite autoexec.bat files or sys.ini files. That's very true. And considering that you have like this second round of ransomware that's pretty much targeted just to Windows computers, it wouldn't surprise me at all that a lot of people ended up, switching to the Mac. Let's see, do something creative with the design of the box and separate yourselves from the pack. That's what they did with the original iMacs. Dump or outsource the Newton eMate digital cameras and scanners. That's exactly what they did. Take better care of your customers. That's what they did. Build some decent applications that the business community will care about. They actually kind of went, in my opinion, they went in a different direction. Instead of trying to cater to business, they cater to the consumer. And I think in the long run that's worked out for them. Now, they're now like starting to work back into that market. But I don't think it was a bad idea to get out of it at the time. Stop being buttoned down corporate and appeal to the fanatic feeling that still exists for the Mac. And then they talk about power computing's I'll give up my Mac when they pry it from my stiff dying fingers campaign. I think the Mac versus PC ads were a step in a big step in the right direction. Get rid of cables, go wireless. I think they did that. Tap the move toward push media by creating a network. Blah, blah, blah. No. Apple is not going to create a net PC, and they didn't, and they're not interested, and it was terrible idea. Sell yourself to IBM or Motorola, the power PC makers. No. Create a new kid's computer, an upgradable Wintel compatible machine in bright, rugged colors that can take stickers and duct tape that a young user can call his or her own. Why the hell would Apple make a Windows computer? Seriously. The only thing that separates Apple from every other computer company out there is the Mac OS. And that's just an incredibly stupid idea. And it pisses me off just to even read it. Even though I know it's 20 years old, it still pisses me off. Next one is create a new logo. Well, they didn't actually create a new logo, though they did sort of update the one that they had. They went to solid colors for a while, and they've got some groovy new colors and things along those lines. And that's, that works fine. But, it keeps the old without having it be stale. Pay cartoonist Scott Adams $10 million to have Dilbert fall in love with a Performa repairwoman. Yeah, because that's worth $10 million. Portables. Pick the best of breed Wintel in each of the portable categories, then better it. Wintel has a fantastic range. Even then, it had a fantastic range of crap. If you're going to go and buy a top-of-the-line Wintel machine, then great. You've got a good computer. Once you go below that, it's just various degrees of garbage. So no, don't do that, Apple. And they didn't. If you sell it, make it. Stop releasing new products if you can't fulfill the orders. Agree with that. Relocate your company to Bangalore and blah, 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 blah. A bunch of crap. Don't lose your sense of humor. I think they've managed to keep their sense of humor. Work closely with Hewlett-Packard Casio or someone who understands power management. Apple has the best battery life in the industry for their portable machines, and I don't think they have to talk to anybody along those lines. They bought what they needed. Hey, Jeff, how are you, dude? David Ginsburg is here. Warren Sklar is here. So I've got the power users are here. They stuck with me through all the stupid crap that I did. Reach forward by reaching back, stupid. Build a PDA for less than 2 stupid. They gave up the Newton not long after probably this article came out. Advice to Gil Amelio, doesn't matter, he was fired. Change the visual presentation of marketing advertising to signal that real change is underway. Was written by someone who doesn't understand what advertising is really for. Port the OS to the Intel platform. Hey, there's an idea. With its huge amount of investment in hardware, software, training, and experience. Yeah, Apple should do that. They should definitely do that. Get MK Linux and BOS to run on PowerBooks. The BOS, yeah, because that has the BOS took over the market. Yeah, no, don't do that. Clone the PowerBook. No, you're not going to clone the PowerBooks. Take advantage of Next's easy and powerful OpenStep programming tools to entice a new generation of Mac software developers, and they did. Make it easier for independent software vendors to make applications for both Apple and Wintel environments. Once Apple actually went to x86, that kind of happened. Build a laptop that weighs 2 pounds. How about one that weighs less than 2 pounds? That's kind of what they did eventually. Come on, my cursor is going all over the place here. Do a quick reset and let's see if there's any more comments. Nope, all the same comments. Where am I? Here we go. Cash in on Millennium Fever with an ad campaign that portrays Apple as a return to basics, a rediscovery of simplicity and purity, a rejection of complexity. This was obviously written before Johnny Ive started making his little commercials that would talk about the products that he was working on for Apple. Because that's kind of what they did there. Arrange venture funding for new cutting-edge multimedia publishers. Organize a telethon. Hire Jerry Lewis to get dewy-eyed over the new line of Mac products. Yeah, dumb. Remain committed to the Open DVD Consortium. Who cares? Continue your research in voice recognition. Siri, can you please check to see if Apple has done anything in voice recognition? Thank you. Don't raise the Mac OS licensing fee. I guarantee within 6 months of this article being released, the clones were dead. Yeah, so raising the licensing fee, not really an issue. Stop wasting time on frivolities like Spartacus, the 20th anniversary Mac. I actually like that machine. It was underpowered and way expensive, but it was just a cool looking computer. I would love to see Apple make some relatively small runs of one-offs, like the 20th century Mac. Love it. I wouldn't necessarily be able to buy one, but I would love to see what their designers could do. Work on ways to make your lower end models truly upgradable. Well, they did that for a while and they don't do that so much anymore. Get Ben & Jerry's to name a flavor after you. Apple Silicon Chip Supreme. So funny. Bring back Andy Hertzfeld and the other original Mac folks to explain to the executive team that simplicity and design elegance are what made the Mac attractive to blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Don't think so. Give Steve Jobs as much authority as he wants in new product development. Yeah, considering what happened with Gil Amelio and Steve Jobs, that's kind of what happened. Speak to the consumer, not to the press, not to the competition, but to the people who grew up with the Mac. They sort of did that. What I think I'm going to do real quick, let's take a quick break, and we will finish this list when I come back. So everyone, please stand by, and we'll be right back. Yeah.
Everybody, please stand by to stand by. And, we'll be right back.
And welcome everyone back to the mymac.com podcast.
All right, so let's carry on. But
I'm still laughing about something that happened just before we started recording, and we're going to talk about that right now.
I don't know if you heard, Guy, but Sal's going. Did you know that?
Yeah, I heard that. He's leaving Apple. It's a tragedy for everybody.
Oh dear, this is not going well, is it? We are so childish.
We are.
Really are.
It's the G-Men on the mymac.com podcast. Okay, hey, we are back. And because I had to restart this, one of the things I forgot to mention when I restarted was that everything that I'm talking about here is based on a Wired article from June of 1997. And if you look at something I posted earlier today, I included a link to the article that I was using there. So I don't have that up right now, or I would drop that link in. But if you just go and search under my name in the Mac to the Future group, you'll find it there. But getting back to the things that were in that article, let's see. Number 52 was Return to the Heady Days of Yore by insisting that Steve Jobs regrow his beard, because that made all the difference. Recharge your strategy for Europe, where, for the people who live in Europe, I would be a little insulted by this. He says, where the PC market penetration is lower than in the US and the population is educated and interested in high tech. So they're interested in high tech and they're educated, but they don't have as many computers. Yeah. Okay. Sell off the laser printer business. I think they just dumped it. I don't think it was significant enough to make that much of a difference. Give the company that buys the printer business a contract to manufacture printers. It doesn't matter. And is my computer locked up? What is going on here? Oh man, what is happening? This must be the night for things just to go horribly, horribly wrong, because now my trackball isn't working. I don't know if the battery died on it, but fortunately I do have my trackpad that I hardly use. Stick to your schedule. After canceling the long-awaited Copeland, you can't afford to miss even one of your OS deadlines. I think a lot of people these days would be saying slow down. They've been on a yearly cycle for operating system upgrades for all of their products for a couple of years now. And, some people say that that's not necessarily a good thing. Release stuff when it's ready and, don't worry about it being on a schedule. Let's see. Bring back John Scully. No. Create dollar incentives to attract software vendors to write for the upcoming Rhapsody platform. You have cash in the bank. No, they didn't. Invest heavily in Newton technology. No, they didn't. They dumped it. Abandon the the Mach operating system you just acquired. Oh, and I love this. And run Windows NT kernel instead. This is number 60. I see Warren put up the link to the article. Thank you, Warren. I'm a walking bad advertisement for Mac products. Sometimes, yeah, especially tonight. It's things. Well, but it's not the equipment's fault. It's really, really not. It's that I don't always pay attention to the things that I should be paying attention to before I do something like this. So if for whatever reason the battery is dead in my trackball here, and it sucks because I love this thing and I really depend on it quite a bit. But again, I do have my handy dandy trackpad that I barely use. All right, number 61. Ink a promotion development deal with Shaquille O'Neal. Introduce designer Shackintosh models. Yeah, no. Build a computer that doesn't crash. That would be the goal for everybody. Number 63. Make Java work on your OS. Number 64. Team up with Sony. Oh, okay, sure. This is starting to crack me up. Roll out the Mac Plus again as a hip retro machine. Make it really, really uncool to use whizzy leading-edge PCs. 66. Get the top system integrators to push Next's web objects as the ultimate intranet internet development environment. They actually did try to do that, and it bombed. It just didn't work. Tighten the focus on your publishing niche. Retain your Apple fellows at all costs. Some of this is just like, really? Change your name to Snapple and see if you can dupe Quaker Oats into buying you. Simplify your PC product line, which is what they did. Reduce the number of Apple motherboards and number of distinct Apple system models. Become a graphic design company and dominate your niche the way blah, blah, blah. Try industry standard serial port plugs RS422. No. How about going with USB? Yeah, I think USB is a better way to go. Yeah. Solidify the management team. Pushing people out or allowing them to leave does not inspire the remaining troops. Speed sells. And you're talking about 450 and 533 megahertz power PC processors. Your lead over Intel would be remarkable. Now, weren't they just saying earlier in the article to switch to Intel? This article is like schizophrenic. It's like all over the place. Number 76. Make damn sure that Rhapsody runs on an Intel chip. Very next comment talks about that. Really. Write a Windows NT emulator for Rhapsody's Intel version. Well, they did that probably around 2000, 2001, according to Steve Jobs. Lose the Cyber Cafe's idea, number 77. Yeah, okay. Turn Claris loose so it can do some real damage. Yeah, well, they did turn Claris loose, and it didn't do much damage. Exploit your advantage in the K-12 education market. They've kind of lost the K-12 education market to, at least for now, to Chromebooks, mostly just because of cost. We'll see how that works out for them in the future. Maintain existing loyalty at all costs using incentives like free upgrades and stock certificates. No. Merge with Sega and become a game company. No. Give the first Apple made exclusively for Windows a cheeky name like the Big Apple and an irresistible industrial design like, oh, for God's sake, shut up. Develop proprietary programs that run only on Macs. Crow about them. Well, they kind of did. You look at the iWork and iLife suites, Final Cut Pro, Logic, iTunes originally, there was a lot of applications that Apple had that only worked on the Mac, and the only time that they brought it into or released it also for Wintel was when it made financial sense for them to do so. So, yeah, that's kind of what they did. Let's see, where was I here? I am on, for those following at home, I am on number, 83. No, 84. Effectively communicate your game plan to employees, customers, and developers. Yeah, because Apple is so into telling us what they're going to do before they do it. That's everything that Apple does. Let's see. Quit making each Mac in a platform-specific case with platform-specific parts. Well, they kind of do that. They kind of did that. Organize a very large bake sale, liquid cookie sales done for the Girl Scouts. Price the CPUs to sell. Apple didn't make CPUs. They were part of the consortium that created the PowerPC. IBM and Motorola made the CPUs. They couldn't price them. Acknowledge that there are people with repetitive stress injuries. I think Apple has probably done more along these lines than any other company. So I don't know if they acknowledged it, but they certainly worked hard at developing solutions for it. Create a chemical that cleans the Mac's pale, blah, blah, blah. Shut up. Design a desktop model, blah, blah, blah. Cappuccino maker, blah, blah, shut up. 91. Start a new special projects group led by either Jobs or another passionate and creative designer to create the next insanely great technology. And that technology was released, and it was the iPod. With each new Mac, include a CD-ROM that explains the Apple family tree and future plans. No, Apple would never do that. Develop a way to program that requires no scripting or coding. Maintain, this is number 94, maintain differentiation between Wintel and Apple. Cross-platform means Apple OS on Intel boxes, not just add-ins to Windows, making the Mac more like Windows or making all technologies cross-platform is a going out of business. Okay. I think Apple has their own identity. I don't think they have to worry about what Microsoft or anybody else is doing these days. Fight back, they did. Partner with Oracle. 97, have Pixar make 3001, A Space Odyssey, with HAL replaced by a Mac. Well, considering that HAL in 2001, A Space Odyssey, was a homicidal artificial intelligence, why would Pixar or Apple or Disney or any company associated want to have anything to do with that and have that association with their products? Okay. Testimonials, number 98. Create commercials featuring real-life people in situations where buying a Mac or switching to a Mac saved the day. How do you do that in 30 seconds? Reincorporate as a non-profit research foundation. Okay, just on its own, that's kind of funny, but yeah, no, not going to happen. 100, build a second graphics video product based on the connection with Pixar and therefore with Disney. Steve Jobs and Michael Eisner should define it. Considering that Pixar kind of did a reverse buyout of Disney, it's weird when companies use other companies' money so that the other company can buy that company and then the first company takes over the other. Isn't that weird? Next did it with Apple. Pixar did it with Disney. I don't know. It just seems like it was kind of weird. Okay, very last one. Don't worry, you'll survive. It's Netscape we should really worry about. Yeah, well, when was the last time anybody said anything about Netscape? Okay. I'm not sure how long this looks like. This one is about 36 minutes. I flew through this as quickly as I could. If you'd like to contact me, and again, so sorry about these continuing problems that I seem to be having, you can contact me via the Twitters. I am Mac Parrott on Twitter. You can also send me an email, guy at mttfgo.com. We have a Skype number that you can leave a message on, area code 703-436-9501, 703-436-9501. Be the first to call it for something other than the MyMac show, which we also use that number for. Anyway, thanks everyone for being here tonight. I am so very sorry about all the problems. It will, I end up having to say this every single week. I know it's going to get better. It really will get better. Or maybe it won't. I don't know. Maybe part of the charm is what part of this show will blow up in Guy's face before the night is over. Anyway, some of the things that I want to do going forward, I do want to bring in other people to get their points of view. A couple things that are going on. The Mac Stock Conference and Expo is coming up, which Dave Ginsburg is going to be there, and he's going to be having his own segment during that. Tim Robertson and I will be doing the MyMac quiz, which is going to be a lot of fun. We'll be giving away prizes. If you don't know about the Mac Stock Conference and Expo, it's going to be in Woodstock, Illinois. It's coming up in just a couple of weeks, July 15th and 16th. I think I've got that right. On that weekend, Woodstock, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. Ridiculously easy to get there. It's ridiculously cheap. $199 gets you into the whole shebang. And I'm talking 2 days of the conferences, full access to everything. Lunch is provided on both days. There's a party on that Saturday night that will have a live band. There'll be food. There'll be drinks. This is going to be the last 2 years of the Mac Stock Conference and Expo has been a lot of fun, and I've really, really enjoyed it. This year, I think it's there. Mike Potter is taking it to a whole nother level, and it's going to be so much fun. Make sure if you can go, and it's just in a couple of weeks, go to the Mac Stock Conference and Expo. Come and meet me. Come and meet Tim. Come and meet David. There's going to be, all the people that you listen to through the various podcasts. A lot of them are going to be there. I can't stress enough how much fun this show is, and that it's so low cost, and all things considered, it's the show that you really, really want to go to. This is the kind of conference that other conferences should be coming to get better ideas on how to do a conference. Anyway, that is going to do it for this week. I already told you all the ways to get a hold of me. Thanks to everyone for being here. And unless someone stops me, you will see me next week. So good night, everybody. Okay, hey, it's another glorious Mac to the Future livecast. I'm your host, Guy Searle, and obviously I wasn't here last week. I went on vacation. I was down in Florida with my son Peter and his friend Jake for their 21st birthdays. Had been the week before, that previous Monday and Tuesday. and what they wanted to do, they wanted to go to, you know, where else would red-blooded American, boys turning to men want to go to than Universal Studios, Florida. Florida Universal Studios with rides and stuff. Actually, I'm kind of making fun here, but it was we really did have a good time. I had rented a minivan, and when I went to pick it up the night before we were going to leave, I was told that they had the minivan, but then for the exact same price, no extra charge, they would give me a GMC Yukon with a nav system. And I was like, okay, I'll take the GMC with the nav system. And it worked out great. We left I guess it was about 5:30 in the morning when I picked them up just to the south here from where I live. And our first stop was St. Augustine, Florida, where we, and it was late afternoon by the time we got there. Spent the night there. The next day we went to Ripley's, believe it or not, and then over to the alligator farm. And then we hopped back in the truck again and took the coast road all the way down to Daytona, where we spent the next couple of nights. Spent some time with Peter and my family there that lives in the area. I'd love to tell you I went surfing, but really all I did was just kind of lay on a board and splash around in the water. And I've been going to Florida now for 3 to 4 years, and I really only get about 1 day, maybe 2 days to try surfing, and I've yet to be able to stand up. And a lot of it, besides the fact that I'm almost 57 years old, and that I'm not in the best shape of my life. Coordination, so that can be somewhat lacking at times, but I do, I guess I just enjoy the effort of trying. And, who knows, I may never be able to stand up on a surfboard, but it doesn't matter. I'll keep trying. It just doesn't matter. So a couple days doing that. Then we went on down to Cocoa, and let me change my camera here. We went on down to Cocoa, and then we went to the dinosaur store. If you haven't been to the dinosaur store, if you ever go to Cocoa Beach, check out the dinosaur store. Really kind of a cool place. And it's right around the corner from the big Ron John's that's there in Cocoa Beach. You can't miss it. So that was fun. And then we go to Orlando, and then we spent the next 3 nights and days walking all over Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure, did all the coasters. I have discovered I am now too big for the, they have this log flume ride that's kind of like Dudley Do-Right themed. Well, I am now officially too big to do the Dudley Do-Right log flume ride. It was a real bitch just to kind of cram myself in, but that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was trying to get out of this log flume at the end of the ride. Almost couldn't do it. So I've retired myself from doing that ride. I don't mind getting wet. They have this Popeye themed rapid river kind of ride. And that's always a lot of fun. And, I have a blast. I love doing that ride. The Harry Potter stuff is really kind of cool. There seems to be a concentrated effort on the part of a lot of these theme parks now to do rides that rely a lot on screens that kind of fool the eye into thinking, you're looking at depth and you're moving in this crazy direction, but your car is really not going anywhere near that fast. Universal Studios has a Spider-Man ride that they've had for years. I mean, I think it was one of the original rides that they had in Islands of Adventure, and it does it really, really well. But now they've expanded this concept into all these other rides, and it becomes less of a thrill ride and more of a can we fool the eye kind of ride with the stuff that they're trying to do. I don't know. Give me a screaming fast drop from a high distance roller coaster that I can fit into, and I'll take those over everything else. I just love those kinds of rides. But it was still a lot of fun. And then, of course, we had the big drive back on Saturday. Didn't think I was going to get back on that Saturday, but both Jake and Peter were pretty insistent on driving the distance. And sure enough, we managed to get back that Saturday night. Now, so that's what I've been doing for the last few weeks. Let's scoot on over to the Mac stuff. Now, I guess some of you have started to use the public beta or the developer preview for the new iOS 11. I don't know if I would be willing to do that. Let me check something here. For some reason, I am not seeing the... Here we go. Okay. Yeah, hey Dave. For some reason, I am not seeing the comments posting live, so I'll have to refresh over here in my browser every once in a while to see what's going on. So David's there. He's got an extra iPhone SE. He has. Okay. So is that what you put it on, Dave? I was kind of surprised. So iOS 11 will go on. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of the iPhone 5S. And does that run on the iPhone 5S, the new iOS 11 for the beta? Okay, so I've got a the original 12.9 inch iPad Pro, and because when I'm out and about, I really rely on that device to help me out. We did record a podcast on our way down as we were barreling down the highway going through Georgia and Florida, and it worked for a little while with Gaz over Skype, but the connection was kind of crappy and we lost him. The problem with recording onto iOS, as far as audio goes, is that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it can fail pretty spectacularly. And we had some problems, and I think it was with the times it works and sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, the JK it can fail pretty IK multimedia. And we had some problems. iRig, I think it was every once in a while it would just stop working. Times it works and sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't, JK can fail. IK multimedia. And we had some problems. iRig, maybe I think it was every once in a while it would just stop. The only times it works and sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't, JK can fail. IK multimedia. And we had some problems. iRig, maybe I think it was every once in a while it would just stop. The only times it works and sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't, JK can fail. IK multimedia. And we had some problems. iRig, maybe I think it was every once in a while it would just stop. The only times it works and sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't, JK can fail. IK multimedia. And we had some problems. iRig, maybe I think it was every once in a while it would just stop. The only times it works and sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't, JK can fail. IK multimedia. And we had some problems. iRig, maybe I think it was every once in a while it would just stop. The only times it works and sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't, JK can fail. IK multimedia. And we had some problems. iRig, maybe I think it was every once in a while it would just stop. The only times it works and sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't, JK can fail. IK multimedia. And we had some problems. iRig, maybe I think it was every once in a while it would just stop. The only times it works and sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't, JK can fail. IK multimedia. And we had some problems. iRig, maybe I think it was every once in a while it would just stop. The only times it works and sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't, JK can fail. IK multimedia. And we had some problems. iRig, maybe I think it was every once in a while it would just stop. The only times it works and sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't, JK can fail. IK multimedia. And we had some problems. iRig, maybe I think it was What happened? Oh,